Hello class, and welcome to this Mega Man 2 walkthrough right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Brigands. I'm your instructor, Professor Brigands, and Mega Man 2 is widely regarded as being one of the best video games of all time, certainly for the NES, and most called the high watermark for the Mega Man series for good reason. It improved upon its predecessor in every conceivable way. You got 8 robots instead of 6. The levels were better designed, the boss is more memorable, and the soundtrack is excellent. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And I can only assume that these improvements extended to the box art. I mention that because Fluff and I had a good time taking the piss out of the box art from the original Mega Man in that class. He looks like he's wondering, is it too late to go back to veterinary school?
But Dr. Light slapped him and threw a slur-laced tirade, said, "No robot of mine is going to veterinary school," and he made Rush Dog to shut him up instead.
Speaking of which, Fluff, it's our resident game fact finder, Fluff, everyone.
Hey, Professor.
So I'm curious, can you share the box art for Mega Man 2 with us?
Alright, but I'm not sure you're gonna like it.
What? How is he still holding a physical gun in this box art? That first game, okay. I'll buy that story you told us that the artist threw it together in 6 hours and only had a vague description of Mega Man to go on when he did it, but Mega Man 2 came out like a full year later. Did they get the same guy to do it?
No, according to an interview conducted by Nintendo Age with Mark Erickson, that's the artist of this particular box art, and the artist who did the box art for almost 100 other games. The story is actually eerily similar to the experience with the first game. He went into the Capcom offices in America and met with the art director who put on Mega Man 2, which was fresh in from Japan, and Erickson asked what he was shooting with, to which the art director replied, "He must have a pistol because I don't see that he's got a rifle." And the art director basically signed off on the idea of a pistol.
You're telling me the art director at Capcom didn't know what Mega Man was shooting with by looking at him in Mega Man 2?
Well, I guess it was the company's art director and not someone affiliated with or familiar with the game itself.
Plus, which once again you explained to us that one of the higher-ups at Capcom of America blamed the first game's lack of success in America specifically on the first game's crappy box art. I mean, how is that guy not there at the door to greet this new artist with a big picture of Mega Man? Or at the very least, how is there not a company memo circulating that just said, "No pistol"? How is there not a no pistol memo? And what must the guy who flipped over the Mega Man 1 box art in the first place, what must he have thought when he finally saw the box art for Mega Man 2?
I don't know, but are you okay, Professor?
And he's still got the Benjamin Button middle-aged baby look. What are the odds that 2 different artists would interpret it the same way? That's uncanny.
And once again, they were crunched for time with this artist only purportedly having a day and a half to get it done.
Well, there's that at least. Alright, I have an idea. We're going to try a new feature here on Video Games 101, and I know there's a lot of people who are just thinking, "Professor, just get to the game already, that's why we're here," and I appreciate that. So I want to point out that you can use the timeline to jump ahead to the start of the Mega Man 2 walkthrough. We've got it all broken into chapters, or you can check the timestamps in the description, or we have pinned a comment up to the top which has all the different timestamps. So you can jump ahead to any point in this walkthrough that you want. Everybody else, let me introduce you to our newest feature here on Video Games 101 called Let's Meme It.
Let's meme it!
Yeah. So for this first one, we're going to do a little competition. Myself and the 3 TAs, Fluff, Gary, and Blaze, will each choose one of the various box art covers for Mega Man 2 and come up with a meme for it. The best 2 will then go on and face off in the final round. Simple enough, right? And we're going to hold off on showing you the box art until we show you the memes for maximum effect. So, Fluff, why don't you kick us off? And I see you've chosen the German box art. Germany was unique in that they got their own version, but yeah, go ahead.
That moment you realize the dragon you left your hovercraft with doesn't know squat about brake systems.
Oh, I love it. Ah, nice. That's great. And Mega Man's face and that of the dragon are what sell it. The dragon's like, "You fool, I never even finished trade school." All right.
Good one, Fluff.
I'm
Thank
going
you.
next. I'm going to stick with the German version. This is nice, but I'd really rather be riding a dog.
Nice.
Professor.
Didn't clock that as a tongue twister there. Almost flubbed the line. Anyway, Gary, staying in this version. I see lots of love for the German
Gary.
version, by the way. But go ahead.
When they hired Dr. Wily to do the box art,
That is
yeah.
true. And might I add to that end that it does look like Mega Man crapped his pants once again, just like the first cover. But at least time, it actually looks like Mega Man this time.
it's true.
Finally, Blaze, who I see is going with the epic European
Yeah,
version.
Blaze.
Go ahead. Benedict Cumberbatch be like, what's the best way to fire my agent?
It does look like him.
Oh my god.
That is him.
That's perfect. That's definitely not the script they sold him on. But Gary, are you of a similar mind?
Oh yeah, Fluff and Blaze should move on.
All right, I agree. Fluff, you have honors.
Thank you.
And that's nice. You're going back to the North American box art. Take it away.
Dr. Light says, quick, Mega Man. Destroy him while I finish Crash Man's colonoscopy.
Oh my god. That is so true. Where is his other hand? And Crash Man's pelvis going forward, tensing up.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Okay, Blaze.
Come on,
This is for the
Blaze.
win. Bring it. Back to the European version. I've never anally probed something that big, but I'll try. For the good of humanity.
Oh,
Fluff.
Ah, he took it, Professor.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Blaze.
Oh my god.
Congratulations, Blaze.
Congrats, Blaze. And I heard it in Cumberbatch's voice. And I'm going to go ahead and handicap Mega Man 2 before we get started. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10, which on the frustration scale equates to throwing your controller across the room in a couple spots, which we'll cover. I think when we did our class on the original Mega Man, I also gave it a 5 out of 10. The games are pretty different. I mean, they're still both Mega Man games, obviously, but there were a lot of differences between the first and second games. But the difficulty's still kind of there. I might up it to a 6 on the difficult mode, which we're going to be playing on, but there'll be time to talk about that and the differences between them. But let's start a new game now on the difficult setting here in Mega Man 2. So we enter a password if we have one. We're going to start a new game, and this is my recommended Mega Man 2 boss order right there. We're going to start with Metal Man, and we'll talk about why in just a moment. You can hold down A to bring up these little peepees, I think they're called, P-I-P-I. Little chicken-looking guys. But let's take a look at the basic controls of Mega Man. We can jump with A, shoot with B, bring up our weapons menu, kind of pausing the game with start, and just move around with the left and right buttons there. We got an E-tank, which Blaze is going to explain in just a moment. But mind these crushing arms here. A little tricky with the conveyor belts, but they do a decent amount of damage, so be careful there. Not as difficult outside of the conveyor belts. And already early on, I think we have a place where we can kind of resupply if we need anything, which is kind of a waste, but you'll see a lot of items dropped here. And speaking of items, let's go to our resident items expert, Blaze. Alright, let's talk about the items you will find in Mega Man 2. First, we have the tiny health refill, which is worth 2 meters of your health when you pick one of these up. Careful when you pick one up, it's a very short little pause that it gives you when you're moving around. Just be careful when you're picking one up near a platform is all I'm saying. Or a ledge, I should say. And we have the big health circle, which is worth 10 points of health. Be on the lookout for these. Then we have the equivalents, but for the weapon power-ups, basically, the weapon refills. We have the small one for 2, and the big one, once again, for 10. we have the Extra Life, a staple in the Mega Man universe, the helmet right there. And then finally, the E-Tank. Very, very useful item. Tops off your health on demand. You can carry up to 4 at a time. Be on the lookout for these. But there you are, the basic items of Mega Man 2. Yeah, stock up on those E-Tanks. Only use them when you absolutely need to, obviously. Now let's take a look at the Briggs notes for Mega Man 2. These are the keys to the game, keys to winning in Mega Man 2. First and foremost, probably the key rule in every Mega Man game is to know the boss order, or which weapons work on which bosses, which we will always tell you throughout the course of this class. Number 2, use Metal Man's weapon in place of the Mega Buster. I know that sounds crazy. Sounds like sacrilege. Hopefully Dr. Light isn't watching. But, yes, Dr. Wily makes a better weapon than Dr. Light. And then finally, keep weapons topped off on the Wily levels, which we will talk about later. And these little stacked enemies there that come apart, those don't do that on the normal mode. That's special for difficult mode. And we are already at our first boss here. That boss being Metal Man. So we're going to throw it over to our resident boss expert, Gary. It's Scary Gary's Boss Beaters.
Alright, Metal Man, we're gonna use the Mega Buster. The second time you face him, use the Metal Blade, his own weapon, against him in the boss rush. It's actually really effective, but the strategy is just keep firing while focusing on dodging his shots, especially when he moves the conveyor belt towards him. But just keep firing, dodge those metal blades that he sends at you, and it's a tough fight, this first one, when you have to slum it with the Mega Buster, but use that E-Tank if you need to. Otherwise, congratulations. You just got probably the best weapon in the game. We'll let Blaze explain that.
Alright, thank you, Gary. And we just made it through without having to resort to that E-Tank. But now that we got that first weapon, let's go to Blaze. Alright, the Metal Blade from Metal Man gets my vote for item of the game in Mega Man 2. It's just so versatile. Instantly use it to replace your Mega Buster. Mega Buster's garbage. Use the Metal Blade. It's more powerful. It's omnidirectional, so you can aim it up, diagonally, up or down, all over the place to take care of most any enemy who's coming towards you. Plus, it's great on probably more bosses than any other weapon in Mega Man 2. The Metal Blade. Use it. Alright, thank you, Blaze. So we're going to equip that right away. And we're also going to enjoy one of the best themes in NES history. One of the best video game themes of all time, if you ask me. And the Bubble Man theme here. As Blaze said, one of the best aspects of the Metal Blade is that we can aim it in different directions. Not only is it wider than our Mega Buster, but we can aim it up or diagonally. These enemies also have a second phase exclusively on the difficult mode. That'll be a surprise if you've only ever played it on normal. Still not too difficult, especially with the Metal Blade. Normally that second phase, when they're rolling around low profile on the ground like that, that cannot be shot with the Mega Buster, so just cannot count the various ways in which the Metal Blade is the superior weapon. So one of the Briggs notes that we mentioned, and this is a good place to top off your weapon again, by the way. Aim for the top of that fish there. One of the Briggs notes was to make sure that your weapons were topped off in the Wily levels. In between those levels, later on in the game, they do not refill your weapons between levels. While you're just in the first 8 Robot Master areas, every time you beat a level, it will top off your weapons. So you don't have to worry about running out of a Metal Blade between levels or anything like that. Just go to town, basically. Use it as liberally as you like. And more than that, you just get a lot of value for money, basically. Every shot doesn't even take a meter away from the overall count that you have. It takes a few shots to take it down one, so you get a lot of shots. A lot of bang for your buck. A lot of blade for your buck, I should say. These little frogs are a good place to refill items as well. You always want to be on the lookout for enemies like that, which give you a lot of opportunities to drop items, basically. Be careful with your jumps here. You don't want a crab dropping right down when you're in the middle of a jump and knocking you back off of the ledge. But anyway, time for Bubble Man. Let's throw it back over to Gary once again. Gary?
Boss beater. Alright, Bubble Man, use the metal blade we just got from Metal Man, and you can aim the metal blade as Blaze explained in every direction. You can follow Bubble Man around the screen, but he doesn't take that many shots with it on either difficulty. Very effective against him.
I can see that, just like that. Bubble Man down. Arguably the easiest boss in this game. No, we don't give it out an award or distinction for that, but still. Flashman's pretty easy too. And what do we got this time, Blaze?
Alright, the Bubble Lead. It's such a shame that my favorite robot and the best soundtrack in this game, the weapon you get from defeating him, is so lame. But then again, you need this to take down the final boss. Sorry to step on your toes there, Gary, but it just kind of arcs when you fire it, then falls on the ground. Not very useful outside of a couple boss battles, which Gary will cover.
So I've heard multiple people refer to it more as Bubble Lead rather than Bubble Lead. And that would make sense. It's like a lead bubble that's more powerful. I think, to me, it's somewhere between the fact that it goes across the screen, so leading in that sense, but also I think the Search Snake from Mega Man 3 kind of operated in the same way. Search, lead, I don't know. It's how my brain makes that connotation, but there you go. How do you pronounce it, class? I feel like everyone says Bubble Lead, but that's fine. To each their own. Level's pretty straightforward. Nothing too tricky about it. I mentioned being on the lookout for a couple small health refills there. Being on the lookout for enemies which drop a lot of items. We're going to have a section coming up here with the peepees, which we referenced earlier. Actually, right here, just be careful. They're going to drop their eggs and go everywhere, but all the mini peepees, which we summoned, and that health just disappeared, actually. That was a little strange. Yeah, when we can hit A when we're selecting the robot and get a bunch of them in the background. That's what they are. You see all the different items they drop, and it's completely random, so you can get some pretty good stuff and top off all your meters in a matter of seconds. Take out the little gorillas hanging there. Gotta be careful, just as a note, when somebody drops, I think Blaze mentioned this, when they drop a restorative item right on the ledge, it can kind of mess up your timing if you're about to do a jump, so just kind of keep that in mind as it's filling up your meters. Dodge the carrots here. Plenty of health now for Woodman. We got some of these atomic chickens here. Typically they will just jump over you. You can hang to the little edge here, so they'll just run over you. And if you see one on level ground, just shoot at it, and it'll jump right over you, as long as you stay still, basically. But here we are, Woodman. Gary.
Boss beater. Woodman, once again, we're going to be using that metal blade. Already paying a lot of dividends. It's no wonder Blaze called it the item of the game. But get close to Woodman, jump over that first shield shot of his, and then just get those extra shots in when you're close, when he doesn't have the shield up, and you'll take him down very quickly.
There he goes. The name of the game is be a little aggressive there. Get close, get lots of shots in, and down he goes. And we have our next item. Blaze, why don't you tell us what we just got from Woodman?
Alright, the Leaf Shield provides a protective shield around Mega Man 4 leaves, which will circle him. You can use this in a couple different instances. It's good on one of the Robot Masters. Again, that's Gary's domain. But Leaf Shield, every now and then when you need a little protection, go with the Leaf Shield.
Alright, we're bringing back the PPs for Airman here. Gotta be very careful in Airman stage. Lots of pits to drop into, lots of platforms that are floating about. We've got these angry Regis Philbin looking platforms here. Mind the horns. Probably see a lot of celebrities in that face, quite honestly. It's a very distinctive animation, though, on those guys. I like it. Looks like they have a little mini health container powering them right there between the eyes. Nice detail. If you jump at the edge far enough in, you can avoid the drills there. But these Cloud Riders are a lot easier to take down when you can aim and kind of direct your Metal Blades, which you, again, cannot do with the Mega Buster. I don't know why I keep lobbying for the Metal Blade. It's just better. Doesn't need to be lobbied for. Take them out very quickly before they get a shot off on you and wait for that to come around. Yeah, this part is a lot more dangerous when you can't take them out well ahead of time. If you need to refill anything here, PPs are right there for you. Got a 1-up right there. Try to go for a no-death run, personally, but we'll see how that goes. Another low-profile enemy right there, which are good for topping off items if you need them. But the Metal Blade can sweep them up without issue. Little creatures keep coming out of their ears. They like the mechanic. Might want to get that checked out, by the way. But they love that mechanic of the little creatures, which resemble the bigger creature, being generated by the bigger creature, like the PPs and the mini PPs. Shoot out these air-blowing dudes. Take your time here. Visibility is poor with the clouds, so just keep that in mind. Make sure you have a fresh kill before you venture forward, otherwise you'll be up to your ears in PP. PPs, I should say. Just fun. We're having some fun. Alright. Time for Airman. I like that color scheme, by the way. Gary?
Boss beater. Airman, we're gonna use the leaf shield we just got from Woodman. After Airman's first 3 attacks get a shot off on his transition to the left side of the screen, then just stay close to him and get the final 3 shots in quickly to take him down with 4 hits.
Yeah, try to avoid those cyclones in the first part there, but yeah, once you get close enough, 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that, just slicing through them with the leaf shield. Very nice. Alright, Blaze, another item, what do we got?
Alright, the air shooter fires out 3 little mini cyclone tornadoes, which fire up and arc into the sky. Use it on a couple bosses, well, maybe just one boss, but there you go, the air shooter.
Well, it looks like we have our first additional special item from Dr. Light. What can you tell us about item number 2, Blaze?
Alright, item 2. Very useful item which creates a moving hovercraft very quickly, which moves in one direction. Unfortunately, it keeps sapping your energy until you hit a wall or leave the screen, so keep that in mind. Very useful in Heatman stage, but there you go, item 2.
Alright, get those PPs back and we're gonna head to Crashman stage. Always my older brother, or my only brother's favorite robot master here in Mega Man 2, if memory serves. And the Metal Blade, I feel like a broken record at this point, is the weapon to go to here. You can also use the leaf shield, but the drawback of the leaf shield is as soon as you pull it out, as soon as you make a move while you have it around you, it launches it in that direction, so it's good with the platforms which are coming up, but in the meantime, Metal Blade is going to be just fine. Here's some of those platforms we're talking about. And if you happen to go in a different order, you might have more of those items, like item 2 we just picked up, and you can kind of take some shortcuts if that's the case, but assuming you're playing along, like we are in this Mega Man 2 walkthrough, there's another 1-up. We're going to bet on ourselves and not pick that up. Then you're not going to have any of those other items right now to finish that thought. So we continue to head higher and higher into space eventually. Atmosphere gets a little thinner. It's a nice effect. And while we have some time here, while we're riding these platforms, let's throw it to Fluff, our resident fact finder. find out some fun facts about Mega Man 2. Fluff, what do you got for us?
We touched on this in our class on the original Mega Man, link for the playlist in the description, but the original Mega Man wasn't a big hit. Capcom only gave the team the green light to develop Mega Man 2 if they continued their work on their other development assignments. This meant that much of the development of Mega Man 2 had to be done in their free time. The passion the developers had for the game shone through, and it's one of the reasons this is widely regarded as the best Mega Man ever made.
Thank you, Fluff. Yeah, deservedly so. Curious what the class thinks about that statement. Not necessarily my favorite, but very high up there. Speaking of high, higher and higher here. Mind the PPs to knock you off the ladder here. This is where a leaf shield can come in handy if you want to pull one out. I recommend sticking to the left-hand side here, as we will get an item here at the end of this stretch. And there's a one up there. I don't think they ever drop any E-tanks or anything. It's mostly the other 5 items which Blaze talked about earlier. I was just contemplating restocking some other things here, but I guess we'll make do without. Stars are coming out. We're really getting high here now. Not gonna sweat that carrying item there. We will grab that little one there. And you'll see why we wanted to take the left route so we can get that E-tank. And now, as long as you have any items here, you can get out of this area. And actually, if we go to the left here, we can grab ourselves, I think it's a 1-up. Yeah, it's 1-up. So there you go. Switch back to the metal blade to clear out these guys with 1 hit. Very satisfying. Probably because I know these guys take several hits with the Mega Buster, but let me get a little health there. There we go. Now we're all topped off and ready for Crash Man, which can be a slightly more difficult fight, but I'll leave that to Gary to discuss. Gary?
Boss beater. Alright, Crash Man. He's very quick, moves around a lot. Use the air shooter. Just be careful to time and aim those shots to make sure your 3 shots land to take him down, as the air shooter is very effective.
There you go. Thankfully, the air shooter is so effective. Doesn't take many hits, because he's a tough out otherwise. Definitely don't try to tangle with Crash Man before you have that weapon from Airman. And what do we get from Crash Man, Blaze?
Alright, the Crash Bomber shoots a bomb which attaches to surfaces, which can destroy certain walls. You know what they look like. And it's useful against a couple enemies and bosses here and there. But there you go, the Crash Bomber.
Alright, heading on the Heatman stage, which has a tricky spot where that item number 2 is going to be a godsend, basically. If you ask me. So you can see how many shots those guys take with the classic Mega Buster. Nice taking them out at the last second. It's also good for clearing out these guys, which just keep respawning. Note that when you kill one, there's about a second delay, and then they appear from one of those holes again, so jump accordingly. Just keep that in mind. And there can only be 3 on the screen total at once, so if you have 3 of them behind you, you can use that to your advantage. So we come up on this surfing section. Here we have the classic appearing blocks here. Not sure if I can make that jump. Yeah, we gotta use that last block there. This is a pretty simple pattern right here. This is where these items come in handy if you, again, unlocked any of the other ones yet, but it's not too tricky without them. This is the part where you're really going to want item 2 coming up here. I think we have some walls we can use Crash Man's weapon on. Coming up here. It's not essential by any means. Can clear out some of those little burger-looking robots there. Crash Man's weapon will work on that. We can use it on this wall here. Actually, I might just go ahead and use this. This will be easier to cut through, seeing as this does respawn anyway. And there's no real advantage to using it on that one, actually. Just wait for the block here and jump over it. Alright. Time to use the hovercraft. Get as far to the right on this lip as you can. And I recommend aiming as high as you can too, to make that jump and ride it. And get on the rightmost tip here. Ignore that one up, and there's going to be just enough juice. If we jump at the end, we can make that. It's actually one of the changes between Mega Man's 1 and 2. They changed that, well, Mega Man used to break the sound barrier when he fell. He just fell like a sack of bricks, basically. So now he still falls pretty quickly, but they give you a bit more time to react and move him around as you need to, so that's certainly an upgrade in my mind, but here we are at Heatman. Let's get that bubble lead equipped, and Gary.
Alright, we're finally gonna get to use that bubble lead on Heatman. Hit Heatman with that first shot, and when he comes at you, jump over him at the last second. Just stay still till he gets to you, then jump over him. And then when you're right next to him, hit him again. Give yourself a little bit of room, move away from him, and just repeat the process until he's down.
Alright, good call. You just keep teasing him like a bullfighter. And take him down with the bubble lead. Not too bad if you got your reflexes up. And what do we get from Heatman, Blaze?
The Atomic Fire. It's a flame attack, and this is the one move which you can actually charge up, kind of like the Mega Buster upgrade in Mega Man 4 and moving forward from that game. But yeah, you can hold down B to get a bigger, larger blast, but note that this consumes more weapon power.
And we got one more item. What do we got in item 1, Blaze?
Alright, the item 1, again, didn't get too creative with these item names here, but this creates a temporary platform which floats up. You can use 3 of them at a time, have 3 on the screen at a time. Very useful and necessary at some of the later stages when you're getting around Wily's castle.
Alright, good call. So we got Flashman now. His floors are slippery. I don't know why. They equate freezing time with frozen floors with the temperature of freezing, but you know what? There you go. Actually, this might be a good time to bring in Fluff for another Fluff fact, which might be relevant to that, actually. Fluff, how about another Fluff fact? What do you got for us?
Mega Man 2 was the first entry in the long-running series in which Capcom held an open contest where fans could submit Robot Master suggestions to be used in the game. The developers received nearly 10,000 submissions, which included a proposed name and sketch of the Robot Master from the fan. Of course, as we talked about earlier, they were on a very strict deadline to complete Mega Man 2, so the levels were largely designed before the submissions were received and Robot Masters were decided on. Instead, they designed the levels to resemble loose themes which could easily be tailored to one of the winners. This contest became a regular occurrence with each subsequent Mega Man game, with the creators getting credit alongside the developers at the end and runners-up receiving consolation prizes.
Good call. So that makes sense. This is probably, they figured there'd be some sort of ice-themed enemy when they were designing the game, and then Flashman, I don't know, shoehorn it in. We'll figure it out. Stay to the right here, and tricky little stretch of platforming as these are slippery blocks, you know, flashy blocks. If you can stay upright here, you'll get rewarded with an E-tank right here. You can also just, if you drop down, you can just use the item 1, which we just picked up. Use the Crash Man move right there to get through, and it's time for Flashman himself, Gary.
Boss beater. Right, Flashman, use the metal blade and just fire again and again. There's no strategy necessary here. He's not that tough, and he'll be down before you know it.
Alright, that metal blade getting some more love again. And yeah, sure enough, what was that, like 6 or 7 hits? Not a problem in the least. Alright. So what do we get from Flashman this time, Blaze?
Alright, the time stopper freezes everything on the screen. Very useful against Quickman and in his stage. But the annoying thing about it is you use it once and it doesn't stop until it saps the weapon dry. So just something to keep in mind, but useful in a couple spots in this game when you need to freeze everything on the screen.
And just like that, we have our final item as well. Blaze, what do you got on item number 3?
Alright, item 3, the final item we pick up, creates a platform which rises when it touches the wall. Before it bounces around like a fish till it attaches to that wall, then rises up slowly like an elevator, but there you go. Item 3, very useful in the Wily stages.
Alright, we're going to take on the final enemy robot master, Quick Man. No peepees for him, I have too much respect for him. He has the toughest level, probably. Well, assuming you don't have the... Again, we're going to bet on ourselves, not go for the one up there. We have all the moves but one, but yeah, the Flashman move is going to come in handy, as Blaze alluded to on this particular stage. So, you see these laser beams coming in from the left and right? You need to be quick here, I suppose that's the connection. Otherwise, they will kill you if they touch you. You can refill it a little bit there if you use the freeze weapon already, but I like to save it. That first stretch isn't too bad. If you did end up using it, make sure it's topped off, or at least close to it for the next section where we're probably going to need it. I'm going to see if I can't get through without using it, but true to its name, the freeze weapon will freeze all of these lasers, so we can get through this area unscathed, but so just follow this pattern. Be tight with your movements, be ready to move in the right direction on the next screen. And see if I can't. So far, so good. Don't bother trying to get that one up, and we're a bit off track here, so we might need to... Yeah, that was gonna slice our face wide open, so... Use the freeze. There is no point in picking that up, because until this thing runs out, it's just gonna keep sapping down the freeze juice, so... If you manage to get through without using it, then bully, you'll see why in just a moment, but I'm not going to waste my time on these guys. Alright, here we are on Quick Man, probably the toughest of all of the robot masters. Gary, what do you got for us on Quick Man?
Boss beater. Alright, Quick Man, as his name suggests, he is very mobile. Use the Crash Bomber. And again, just like we focused on earlier with the Crash Man himself, be accurate and patient when you're using the Crash Bomber. If you run out, you can kind of fall back on the air shooter as a secondary weapon to use against him. But again, go to the E-Tank if you need to use one here. No shame in that.
No shame at all. Thank you very much, Gary. And I think we have our final item, weapon of the game. Blaze, what can you tell us about the Quick Boomerang?
Alright, last but not least, we have the Quick Boomerang. Rapid fire boomerang, which come back to you when you fire them. You get a lot of value for your money when it comes to the Quick Boomerang, useful against a few bosses in the final stretch of this game. But there you are, the Quick Boomerang, and a nice coat of paint from Mega Man 2, I might add.
Yeah, I do like the peach on him. There's that famous Wily moment with the eyebrows and his little pod, but here we are in the Wily levels here. The PP to get things started. So at this point, we're responsible for keeping our weapons topped off through the end of the game, so as that final Briggs note suggested. So just keep that in mind. There's still going to be some spots where we can top them off, but make sure we get the most out of those. Same goes for our items. Items 1, 2, and 3. These things aren't a bad place to stock up on everything, but again, we just started, so not as dire at this point. You can tell they're serious now. They're just giving you these walls that you have to use the items to get up. Taking the training wheels off here in the Wily Stage. It's the first of the Wily Stages. Ride this up, and you can kind of get the most efficiency out of these things by just making a big jump, basically. And not using more of the item power than you need to. I guess we'll just top off 3 here. It's the only thing we've really dipped into so far. We have one of the best bosses coming up in Mega Man history. I absolutely love this fight that's coming up. A little jealous of Gary getting to cover it here. This is a definite training wheels are officially off moment right here. You get here the first time and you're thinking, alright, You wait around for a few minutes. Where are those blocks that I'm used to that appear and create that little walkway for us? No? You're on your own here. So we're going to inch as far to the left as we can on this ladder without falling off, and then we're going to create these little platforms, get to the leftmost part on each one to get the most out of it, and that's how you get across there. It's tricky, might take you a couple times. You might need to go back and refill your item 1 on some of those enemies below. But here we go. Excellent boss fight coming up right here, and we're gonna equip that quick boomerang right now. And Gary, who we got?
Boss beater. Alright, Mecha Dragon, one of the most memorable bosses from the Mega Man series. Used the quick boomerang, and I recommend staying on the top block, but on the right side of that top block. So if you get shot by one of his fireballs he shoots at you, you'll get staggered backwards, but you'll fall on that rightmost block, and you won't fall to your death. So just get back in that position, reassert yourself there. If you get knocked down, just repeat the process, and you'll take him down.
Good call. Can't count the number of times that I fell to my death there as a kid. Still, great boss, Mecha Dragon. Not that I'm on Wily's side or anything, but, you know, he makes good bosses. On to the second Wily level of the 4. I think those are reel-to-reel computers in the background. Someone pointed that out to me in the past. I always thought they were massive VHS tapes or something like that, but yeah, the old-school reel-to-reel computers makes as much sense as anything else. I'm gonna go back to, well, I guess for the first time here, item 2. Just make sure we clear the way of all these enemies for the moment. And just ride this. Oof. Alright. Here's a good tip. Don't try to keep that one high. Keep it as on ground level as possible right there. And then jump. You'll have enough in the tank, assuming it's topped off, to get to this E-tank. Again, 4 is the max, so we're just gonna eat one unnecessarily there. Just because we can, basically. And they'll insult us by giving us 2 meters back for each of our weapons right here. If you need to top anything off right here, we can use the crash weapon to do so. We don't need the E-tank or the 1-up, so we're just going to ignore that. Careful when you're dropping down with these ladders here. Make sure you climb down them instead of dropping down because of the spikes. Another area where we can top off any and all weapons and items that we need to at this point. So this is a good chance to catch your breath here. And as we're catching our breath, let's go to Fluff for another Fluff fact on Mega Man 2.
Mega Man 2 introduced many standards to the series. This includes 8 Robot Masters and additional support items like the E-Tank, which was said to have been added due to complaints to Capcom from players that the first game was just too difficult. If only our channel was around back then, hey Professor? One more word about the difficulty. The normal difficulty setting was added for Western players. In Japan, only the difficult setting which we're playing on was used. Plus, Crashman was called Clashman.
I remember actually a friend of mine who also had this game when we were little kids. Somehow their copy got mixed up and it was the American version, but their Crashman was still called Clashman. That's probably worth a lot of money. I don't talk to them anymore, but finally an instance of this game being a little bit easier in the NES version. I feel like we've been proven wrong so many times. So much egg on our faces. You can use your one platform if you need a little top off before this next boss. Speaking of which, Gary.
Boss beaters. Alright, PicoPico Kun. Use the bubble lead and you can destroy each drone with just one shot. You should stand where the previous drones have emerged already on the floor so that you know that area is relatively safe, so they don't get you when they're coming out of the floor. It's even safer once you have 2 of them that you can stand on to have a nice little safe cushion right there, but not a difficult battle overall.
Yes, now that 2 of them have come out of the ground here, this is the safest place to stand. They do a decent amount of damage when they hit you, at least on this difficulty, but Bubble League gets it done. There you go. Just a couple more Wily stages to go here. How you doing? Still hanging in there? Doing great. So we move on to the the sewage system of Wily Towers. At least in this game, he's got a lot of property, a lot of villas, or evil castles / villas. I wonder if he designs them himself, but there's more items if you need them. Top off some more weapons if you need to. Get the lower gravity when we're underwater here. Sometimes there's a giant fish which pops out of these, but if you move quick enough, you can generally avoid them. Be very careful. Again, these spikes are one-hit deaths. Gotta move a little bit to the left here, then left and then right. Again, if we had the drop speed of Mega Man 1, we would be kind of out of luck right there, but... And hang to the right, hug this wall when you drop down. Oof, looked like his hand, because he gets so excited when he jumps, Mega Man does. Almost looked like that clipped the spike, but we're okay. If you need to top anything off, prioritize weapons at this point. We got that boss rush coming up, where we'll have to fight all of the robots in quick succession. Alright, who we got this time, Gary?
Boss beater. Alright, the Guts Dozer. Giant version of this. We're gonna use the quick boomerang, get on that ledge, and just keep firing at the head. Each shot is gonna take him down very quickly. Just keep firing with the rapid feature of the quick boomerang, and you'll take down the Guts Dozer.
Alright, good luck. Nothing too challenging from the Guts Dozer, if I do say so myself. Alright, the final proper level of Wily's Fun Palace here. Couple hidden pits here, just to get nasty. And once again, we're going to prioritize our weapons in this section. Items aren't super necessary from here on out, with one exception. We should make sure that we have a decent supply of item number 1, which I see that we do. 3 is a nice backup, but we mostly want 1 for this next coming section, which you'll see, or the next boss, I should say, but let Gary talk about that. Just make sure you have at least half of your supply of item number 1. And there's a pit kind of... there's one really short here, but there's one near the end here. I just like to make a nice long jump. And there's a nastier pit here, near the middle. You can use item number 2 if you have any in the tank to get over it, but you also just jump over it like that. Otherwise, that's a nasty death. Grab an E-tank over a pit there, an invisible pit if you need it. You can use 1 just to float up if you drop down the pit to collect that. Again, this is where we want to climb down and not fall down, because we do have these spikes at the bottom. Leaf shield comes in handy here if you want to use it. Give yourself some protection. Otherwise, as always, we can use our metal blade to get results. No burger monsters to contend with here. Got a busy screen right here. Again, leaf shield. If you want to be lazy, just keep in mind as soon as you make a move, it's going to disappear. So you can just drop off the ladder with... Ooh, that was interesting. There we go. You just drop off the ladder with A there and drop on the platform, and that will not send the leaf shield flying in any one direction until you need to jump right there. We're just going to stick with the metal blade, which we've done with most of the game. And this is the exception here where we cannot ride this platform the whole way. We'll drop here, get on this platform, and use the 2 item right here, which I like is backwards when you're facing the other way. And a couple more of these guys for good measure. Again, I just like to take down the big suit and then jump over these little guys. Don't give them any respect. We're all about disrespecting the enemies right here on Video Games 101. Good time to remind you to subscribe if you haven't here. So we're entering the home stretch, and we have one of the trickier bosses of this game, but I really like this boss fight. Gary.
Boss beater. Right, the Boobeam trap. Use the crash bomber, but this is very important. You need to use transport items 1 and 3 to get around. only use the Crash Bomber on the actual enemy, or an otherwise inaccessible enemy, which is protected by a wall. So fire it at the walls, which are protecting the enemy, or the enemy itself. Don't use it needlessly on a wall that you can use a 1 or 3 transport item to get around. Otherwise, you will not have enough. This is designed so that you only have enough Crash Bomber to do this part meticulously and perfectly, basically. But that's how you take down the Boobeam trap.
Yeah, good call, Gary. Yeah, we have, 8 shots with the Crash Bomber, and I guess gonna have to break into our E-tanks for the first time legitimately. And we have 6 enemies to kill, and then 2 walls which we could not get around otherwise. So, do the math. 6 enemies, 2 walls. There you go. If you die here, you will have to come back, but they do give you do you a favor in that the enemies you already killed here will not have respawned, so you just have to take down the remaining ones. But of course, you have to re-top off your Crash Beam, or your Crash Bomber on the way in, but there you go. Time for the famous Mega Man boss rush, which you'll find in every single Mega Man game. Popularized the boss rush in so many other games. We'll just give you a quick reminder as we go here of the weapons we want to use on each of these bad guys. So first off, Bubble Lead for Heat Man. We're just going to go kind of counterclockwise here, top left, and around the horn basically. Same strategy that Gary covered before. Just basically tease Heat Man into coming after you and then jump at that last second. Next we have Airman. Remember, the Leaf Shield works very well against Airman. You just have to weather the storm of these first 3, pun intended, and then get our shots in right here. I like to stay ahead, or try to stay ahead in the health department here. We always get one of those big containers every time we beat one of these bosses. So the Flame Wheel works very well against, and I see what I did there. F for Flame, but instead I should use that's gonna cost us. Forgot the H is for heat. I was thinking the atomic flame there. So if we charge this up, we do quite a bit of damage to Woodman. It just takes a while to get the full charge. I'm just gonna go back to the good old-fashioned Metal Blade right here. Item of the game for a reason. And I think we need to dip into another E-tank here. As long as we can preserve the no-death run as long as possible. Oh, look at that. That's what you get when you start messing with the different weapons, mixing them up. You get that 1 meter left. And we, once again, already have the correct weapon equipped here in the Metal Blade against Bubble Man. Make sure you're not standing on the teleport stand when you destroy the boss, otherwise you'll miss out on the chance of getting that big health replenishment. Quick Man, we're going to go to, well, we're out of Crash Man's weapons. This is going to be a tough out. We'll go with Air Man's weapon here. Gonna have to use another E-tank, most likely. That's the problem. And there's no chance to refill it either. The Crash Bomber, that is, between levels. Since we needed to use it. Actually, it turns out I did not realize that. That's my fault. The Mega Buster works just as well, inexplicably, on Quick Man as the Air Shooter did. So, there you go. Keep that in mind. And now we have just enough. Well, we don't have enough to use the Air Shooter on this guy. Things are unraveling a little bit here. Learn from my mistakes. Still a teaching moment, right? Try to stay ahead in this. Maybe we'll get a softball on this next robot here. We only have 2 left here. The tough ones are down more or less. Alright, Metal Man. Go back to the Metal Blade here. Not sure the logic behind this, but 2 shots takes down Metal Man, his own weapon. He must need to be very careful when walking around his own stage. That is before we killed him, just saying. And once again, we can use the Metal Blade effectively on Freeze Man here. A little concerned at how much we have left over now for Wily himself. Speaking of which, Gary?
Alright, Wily Phase 1. Use the metal blade, which is angled, to go up and just keep firing away. You'll take him down and get to Phase 2 before you know it. And it's the same thing in Phase 2. You can arc that metal blade up, or use the quick Boomerang. And the flame, the atomic flame, is also very powerful if you charge that up from Heatman. So lots of different options to take down Wily in this stage. And then you only got one last boss after this. Congratulations.
Good luck. Yeah, we gotta slum it with the Mega Buster because we used our weapons poorly during that boss rush, but it all goes back to that mistake I made with Flashman, and we barely made it out of there alive. Wow. We're all about the drama here on Video Games 101. Alright, one final stretch here in this Mega Man 2 walkthrough, the underground bunker of Wily. In his final days, just like Master D. Hitler, sorry. Another Capcom reference there. I always thought this part was pretty eerie when I was a kid. My brother would scare me and tell me that that was the blood of Wily's victims dripping there. It is a really nice effect here, though, the acoustics and echo reverberations of the blood dropping, assuming that's what that is. Don't get hit by it, by the way. It does a lot of damage. And here we are at the final boss. Gary, take us home.
Boss Alright, last boss of the game, Alien. We get to use our bubble lead. Note that the Alien stays on a figure 8 track. You'll see why after you take him down, but just focus on dodging the alien shots. They're always spread out with the exact same delay between shots, so just learn that pattern. Follow him around his track and fire the bubble lead when he gets low enough, and you'll have taken him down and beaten Mega Man 2. Congratulations!
Good luck. Good work today, Gary. Thank you very much. All the TAs, really. His bullets actually do a decent amount of damage to you, as does touching him, so be aware of both of those, but not difficult in the least if you see just the very basic pattern. If they had mixed it up a little bit, this could have been semi-challenging, but as it is, it looks like we might get through this without even taking a hit here. Which is good, because we have no E-tanks left. Just one final meter here. Hopefully have enough bubble lead there, because that's the only thing that works on him. And there's Wily's Wizard of Oz moment right there. And that explains the track. Look at him. Still trying. Not ready to give up on that just yet. He's like, well, maybe just the trackball can hurt Mega Man somehow. He's out of ideas. Shoot him in the face right now, Mega Man. Shoot him. He's not going to. Mega Man knows. He does that, there's no more games. And we get the really lovely ending music here. The wistful walk back home. Not sure why he doesn't just do his jump up and fly move. Seems more efficient, but then that would deprive us from enjoying this beautiful music, so I'll shut up for a second. Apparently Mega Man lives in a 18th century Dutch village, but not a bad place to hang your helmet. Or drop your helmet right there. Great ending, though. I guess here's the folks that came up with the robots there getting their credit. It's a nice detail. Good job, Tanaka. Didn't know if you had a hand in that music. We just added a note, make the music incredible. Maybe they gave him that. Just go ahead, I guess, and one more shameless plug for the channel you are watching. Remember to receive full credit for this class, to like and leave a comment once again. Let us know who your favorite robot master was personally for Mega Man 2. So we see all the people who, well, a lot of these people who didn't get their robots in the game got special thanks, but just the small development team of this game that we saw earlier, the Fishman, always see Fishman, but the small development team which gave it all their passion, labor, love, and look what came out of it. Excellent game. Thank you very much for attending this class. We'll see you for next week's class in the same exact spot, and have a great week until then. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video, and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.